Alright, I'm back with some more Rico Breakout. Got a new reshade filter. I'm gonna go to lockdown and try to survive against the fucking bad guys. Been a minute since I played this, so let's hope I don't get fucked up too bad. But I do remember the spot. So basically, since Battlefield Hardline's dead, I tried to make the game look like Battlefield Hardline a little more, and came up with this reshade filter. I think it looks pretty nice. It's not perfect, but it seems to work well enough. I also had tried to look at Rico London, gave it a play, wasn't a fan. They removed most of the physics and most of the fun shit I was playing the first game for. It's super locked down and linear, and basically they decided, hey, instead of playing as whoever you want, we're going to remove most of the features, most of the survival stuff. No survival mode whatsoever. Um, there were, new randomly generated buildings, I guess, but not much else. Not much new anyway. Just felt like a new DLC map pack more than anything else. And yeah, wasn't that fun. Wasn't a fan. Like, see, this mode I actually quite enjoyed. It's just a fun little survival mode where you try to last as long as you can. They really don't give you too much time. But that being said, I mean, I still managed to make some pretty cool, like, Battlefield Hardline reshade. And figured it'd be fun to celebrate 4th of July with, more games like Cops and Robbers type shit. The ambient occlusion, or not ambient occlusion, anisotropic filtering, well, is not exactly the best in here, but that's whatever settings they've used in Unity. Oh, hit him in the face. Getting bum rushed by a bunch of angry rednecks. Like, see, that's usually what I notice. It's the first game they make will be pretty good, but often the second one will be shitty. Rico London was, they had like cutscenes. It wasn't fully animated. It was like a comic book. Felt really unfinished. Totally missing the any of the lockout maps. Totally missing other randomly generated cases. All the physics were gone. Most of the good soundtrack was too. Most of the weapons I couldn't even get because I once again didn't have enough points. They designed it for co-op, I imagine, but since I don't play co-op and don't care to, it's a pretty shitty solo experience. But I'm not gonna fucking sit here and tolerate that shit if they're trying to compensate for poor game design by just trying to trick me into having a friend over or something to make it better. It's not my fucking job to finish your game for you, and I know I'm a game developer. So, I speak from fucking experience that when I'm saying I want to play your fucking game, and, even I have more tolerance for this kind of shit, most people are not. Most people are not gonna fucking give a shit. They're not gonna look at, like, where this goes wrong and have any kind of positive outlook. They're gonna think that's just a shitty, bad, poorly made game. And, I disagree, but that doesn't fucking matter to most people. They're not going to look at that kind of shit because they don't care what goes into it. They just care that the game, only has a 5-second fucking respawn timer for the bad guys before they come in, and that's not fun to them. Like here, this is the only fucking spot I could find. It's not a good spot, but it's like I said before. I think the AI's weakness is basically the corners. Or if I haven't said it before, it's probably because I didn't fucking record it. But yeah, Rico London, not a fun game. They basically just did a very cliche girl power 1980s disguised as a game. It's simply not. I did like a lot of the early 2000s decor. It definitely felt like a game I would see on the Xbox Live Arcade, but it just wasn't a good game. It does remind me this sort of stuff of, yeah, like an old Xbox Live Arcade game or old Game Loft game. Kind of like if you took a mix of those GTA clones they used to make, the gangster games, and mixed it with Blitz Brigade, and that's probably what you would get. Now, trying to find actually good cops and robbers games like this where you're allowed to play as a policeman as the main story or both is it's been a pain in the ass. Like there's Brink, but Brink is not in a normal city. It's in like Mirror's Edge land. So, it's some fantastical shit once again. But I mean, I played that and I enjoyed it. It was a good game, but you're not really playing as just, cops and robbers so much as security guards versus terrorists. You know, you're not really, playing what I meant. It's close. It's certainly close, but the sci-fi shit really throws it off of like this or Kalawara the cartel where it's like actual, like a drug war or some sort of, investigation with randomly generated buildings or other shit, right? Well, not an actual investigation. Anyway, investigation where you know, you have like forensics and other shit like some Batman stuff. No, I mean like more like that's optional, but really the game is more Call of Duty. You just fucking shoot everybody. I mean, I've seen a few games that were like Doom, but my problem with Doom is maybe, it's more so that like the game just isn't good. Doom, maybe 2016 or 3 are probably my favorite ones because you actually get to fucking shoot more shit. You're not lost in a maze most of the time, fucking figuring out which linear order you have to go in order to proceed. You just fucking get to shoot shit. It's the actual thing that people say they remember versus what Doom actually is. Doom is more like you just are stuck in a fucking broom closet trying to, aimlessly reach around in the dark for the door. Meanwhile, something like this is just find the way forward, and even though it can be a little maze like, you always have basic objectives listed and you know where to go. No such thing in Doom. Doom is more like trying to find a black pixel that's identical to every other black pixel to find a secret door, to find a switch behind that door, to then allow you to proceed through the one predetermined path. And there's a bunch of bullshit, false ends, and other crap that just doesn't help you, and it's annoying and wasteful. It feels like a fucking waste of time, and it's not fun. When I'm going through a maze in a game, it should be because I want to and not because I have to. It should not feel like a chore if I have to get through the maze, and that's what I think this game does well because you have all of this reactive dynamic physics stuff, everything is randomly generated, but you are at least given decent, grace periods and fairly quick weapons here. Like the reloads, the aim down sights, everything's pretty fucking instant and snappy, which I like. It doesn't take like 5 fucking minutes to go run over there like, the newer Call of Duties or Battlefield, where they take their fucking sweet ass time with all this animated bullshit, or Far Cry, where you get stuck in a fucking animation constantly healing, and that basically because they keep fucking shooting you with weapons that get you stun locked into animations so you can heal, they just, with this game here, with this game, we got a guy fucking glitching out in a car. But anyway. Yeah. Anyway, as I was saying with like Doom, or the design of this shit, right? You're not locked into animations. The details are just good enough for it to seem, fine. It's also optimized like an Xbox 360 game in both cases, but because the graphics kind of look like shit, they decided to compensate by making it look like a cartoon, even though that really doesn't help it much either, because all I want it to look like instead is just Battlefield with the VHS filters and shit, or like the bloom or the bleach bypass like this. I think this looks much better. Hell, I mean, hell, I would rather the whole J.J. Abrams Syndicate look instead of the fucking cartoon look, because the cartoon look just looks cheap and fake and annoying. Looks repetitive, like they're trying to steal the fucking valor off of somebody else who did something better instead of, making something that's actually their own or that looks, much more professional. With most of the cartoon shit, it's like, where the fuck's the lighting? It all looks fake and cheap. And it's the same thing with the 1990s games that all just try to look like, they try to look like Doom, but they don't understand that Doom wasn't good because they don't understand that Doom was good because it was like the fucking 90s and people had never seen shit like that before. So they didn't have all these lessons to take from. They didn't have all this good game design shit. Like when you're playing a linear game, I think most people forgot, they took internet memes from 2011 and took the wrong lessons from them. The lesson to take was not so much the linear design, but it was, like the non-interactive, long-winded cutscenes that were just bad. If you're going to be in a cutscene and the cutscene doesn't have any interaction, and then your actual gameplay isn't better than that cutscene, that's a problem. Say like Halo 4 or 5, where Halo 4 I think more people enjoyed because you're just playing the cool sections. You're not just watching them fucking happen while you go into movie time. That's why most Xbox One's games kind of suck and just weren't as fun as the 360. Most of that shit, even earlier on when they were still trying to be a fun action game, wasn't cool. It was just you fucking watch it. It's not interactive. That's why Quantum Break or, like I say, Halo 4, those are the ones that I think of those games people liked the most, or Gears of War 4 or 5. Not because you get to watch the shit just happen and you helplessly fucking sit there, put the fucking controller down, and it dies, which is annoying as shit. You know, you just you know, if there's a cutscene that's so long, it's like you're not gonna have fun. You're just gonna fucking watch a shitty Netflix series, some B-list shit that would be fucking canceled in a season. Like that's not a fucking video game. That's a fucking retarded movie. What it is when you're watching, when you're playing the game and most of the sections are non-interactive, that's not fun. But anyway, with oh fuck, these guys are coming in. Yeah. Few mistakes and you get screwed. Sorry, it's a little hard to concentrate on my fucking ramble this time. But anyway, as I was saying, with like Halo 4 and Gears of War 4 and 5, most of I think people enjoy those games because you get to still play them. You still get to be part of what happens, and that's the same thing with this game and even Rico London that they understood. But this game gets the physics, the destruction, the reactivity pretty well. It's just the cartoon style that's cheap, and the same thing with Doom. You're going through a maze trying to find an identical black pixel on a wall to go through the one predetermined path in order to progress, but there's like a million of them, and it's not intuitive. It's not, easily understandable. It's the same bullshit as like Windows 8 where you have to find the hidden fucking menu in order to use the fucking thing you actually just could have in like Windows 7 before used no problem. It's accessible in the likes of this or the likes of Call of Duty where they still have these features and, all these other things, or tactical intervention where it's just here's a list of your maps and there you go, you can press play and that's the game. But it's not as accessible with Doom where you have to fucking find the hidden lever or the secret, area and bump into a bunch of dead ends to progress. It's also just not fun. I mean, it can be fun the first time, but you're gonna have to fucking, well, maybe fun on repeated playthroughs, I'm sure, but like the first time, it's gonna be annoying as hell. And I guarantee you that if more people had the choice between, say, something like Doom and 2016 Doom, where it's just like a straightforward path and, That's all you got to do is just follow the path, but there's all these other branching things that are off to the side you can go for. Not that you have to go for them, because you're always given a clear objective, a map, other indicators. You know, like you have clear and noticeable ways forward past most issues that the games will throw at you and most obstacles. So, without that guidance, you're basically just in a fucking, you're out to the wolves and you're basically shit out of luck. It just doesn't feel fun and it doesn't feel fair. And for so many games to try and repeat that and think that's some sort of endearing or well-made game is just not good. They're missing out at about 2 or 3 console generations worth of development. And I think, Xbox 360, that was the place to be and to develop more, improvements for. Don't just make your game have shitty graphics, but then it runs like shit and looks like shit and doesn't have features. That's not endearing. That's not what people actually want. They say they want that out of protest, but all they'll get is a shitty microtransaction filled game with nothing in it, like Battlefront 2 or the 2015 Battlefront, and it'll have shittier graphics. That's all you'll get. You won't get anything impressive. You won't have, cool worlds to explore. You won't have cool bonus features. If you want shitty games with less in them, oh, don't tempt publishers. They will fucking give that to you without issue. You want less for more? They will charge more and give you less, and you can have fun getting robbed. Been down that path. It doesn't end well. Now that Xbox One is, complete and cheap, I think it's a great console to get into. Especially since it's not doing so far, to my knowledge, what Sony's been trying to do with all the fucking online shit where they basically force you into an ultimatum. I wouldn't be shocked if they do that now that Sony's done it, but, still haven't done it. If you have an offline Xbox One as of, July 2026, I wouldn't be against, paying $40 for a console like that, and every game is basically like $3 on a disc. As long as you get games that work, I mean, you're going to be limited with your selection because instead of maybe just, harnessing the full fucking power of the tech they had, they decided to, work against the user. It's kind of stupid, but most of the earlier games, yeah, you could still play just fine, like Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty Ghosts, Battlefield 4, Hardline, 5. I mean, basically games up until 2021, maybe 2023 even. They still work. There are even a lot of games released after 2023, hell, even being released now that still work fully offline. Bunch of indie games, other stuff like that did take the retro stuff and do it right, but my biggest issue is often that people just, when they are trying to replace these kinds of games, they're not giving this sort of stuff the time of day, and they really should, because it would ultimately help their games. Even if they are retro, say like Pixel Gun, right? Pixel Gun is very much a Minecraft retro-styled shooter game. But it took designs and stuff from games like this, and it ultimately improved the core experience because they had a bunch of the same features, good quality content, a bunch of funny shit as well, and it was just a good, well-made game. And it worked on damn near anything. You can still find builds of it on itch.io, older versions of it, ported to PC, fully working and operable without incident. Um, and that is the kind of design I think they should have by comparison to what they tend to do, where what they tend to do now is they tend to have no features, no content, really to speak of, very limited, very narrow, unfinished feeling, lacking basic shit I would expect from a game in 2002 of all things. Like, where are the bots? Where's this in most of these retro games, right? Where's the fun modes where you can just have fun, sit back, relax, and shoot a ton of people? Because they're still trying to be Call of Duty at their core, but they don't have the fucking light bulb moment to commit to it for whatever reason. They just don't want to do it. And it's a good idea, and they know it's a good idea. They're very often complimentary of it, but they just don't do it. Why? Why won't you do it? It always bugs me, that kind of shit. If you know it's a good idea and you should do it, well, chances are you fucking go for it. Shoot. Oh, damn it. They're going to get me. Oh, shit. This fucking spot's going to hell real quick. Alright, gotta fucking focus up here. Playing whack-a-mole. A deadly game of whack-a-mole. Yeah. They're impervious to the corner strategy unless I talk too much. But yeah, you know, accessibility, it's often a thing that I think just gets totally forgotten. Is, yeah, you like your game to be understandable, I would think. You know, you'd like people to actually want to play your game too by making it understandable to them, making it immersive and also creative. You know, you don't want to go so far into the realms of inoperability, inaccessibility that you become Windows 8, where basically your shit gets locked down. Nobody cares. It's so cryptic, vague, and, you know, poorly communicated most of the new stuff you add that it doesn't matter if it sounds good or intuitive, but like nobody's going to know that shit. Nobody's going to know you can swipe from top right and, you know, have a hidden charms bar. Why hide this shit? It seems suspicious. You know, why not just lay it out for me and tell me this is what this is? You're just, you know, you're the one who's supposed to be deciding that. You're supposed to be telling me that. You're in charge of the experience, and if you're telling me that what you're doing doesn't matter, I don't have any reason to believe you. I don't have any reason to continue using your shit. It fails to entertain and it fails to immerse. Meanwhile, you know, I'm playing even this budget bargain bin fucking game that was on Steam at one point, and you know, from this game, I'm finding all kinds of interesting stuff. Now, granted, my Battlefield Hardline filter is probably not the best in the world here, but you kind of get the basic idea at least. You know, I figured it'd be something clever, something cute, if you will. Just make the lighting sort of like Battlefield, bleach bypass a little bit. Fun little experiment. If I go to the case I was doing, or I'll just do an operation. We'll do random fucking case. Make it easy. There we go. We'll just say that shit. And we'll just do a simple mission. Laser sight. I think it was, yeah, actually I think it was that first pistol. Extended laser reflex. And then a sting grenade, because I love it when this shit just resets my loadout to the base pistol. But I did find another game. Tactical Intervention has a successor, apparently. Yet another Counter-Strike sequel, basically, if you think of it as Tactical Intervention as Counter-Strike 2, and this other sequel, Alpha Response, as Tactical Intervention, you know, 2, if you will, or Counter-Strike 3. Well, that'd be even more interesting. So here we are. I mean, as we can see, the lighting is not perfect, and this is just something I threw together in like 5 minutes. A lot of the lighting in Battlefield was often like this too, so... Hey, at least there's that. Fucking bright lights and colors everywhere. Whee! I need to go fucking find the bomb. But yeah, like, see, this maze is fine. There's a nuance I have between this and Doom, where this shit is very easy. They very clearly mark where the doors are. it's very easy to find the way forward because all you have to do is look for the red. Well, at least, be easier without the lighting I've added. But hey, you get the idea at least. Plus, red barrels explode in this game. They do not in Rico London. It feels like they originally maybe did want to have physics objects, but for one reason or another, they decided, nah, we're just going to turn all that shit off because that's fucking lame. Like, what? Why'd you turn all it off? See, this shit too. Like, when you want me to find something, they will highlight it, right? That's what they do here. If it's taking you too long, guess what? They just highlight the shit for you. And that's how it goes. Where's that in Doom? That doesn't happen in Doom unless it's, say, like the 2016 Doom, where they do have neon outlines around some things in order to tell you, like, hey, here's where this thing is. Here's a stack of money. That's intuitive because, hey, that's money. I want money in real life. Well, hey, maybe I want to pick up money in game, and there you go. It's a bonus objective. They tell you, hey, clear building 7 of 13, right? And that's what you do. They're not telling you how to clear the building. They're just telling you, hey, you have to get it done. Do we see the difference between that and the Doom games? Because Doom doesn't tell you where the fuck you need to go, just that you need to go and shoot people. Actually, no, they don't even tell you that. They just give you gun, and you spawn in a room, and there's a bunch of, demons running around hitting you. I guess you're supposed to know, based off of zero instruction whatsoever, what to do. Just, I don't know. You have gun. Okay, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to shoot these guys? Okay, I guess they're shooting me, so there's your story. Your story is they are demons, and you shoot them. Real fucking good story. Meanwhile, intuitive design here, at least, is semi-understandable. Also, really good physics, destruction. Doom 3 as well. I think Doom 3's level design was pretty good. Problem was just how slow everything was, and, I didn't have a problem with the sci-fi stuff there. It all really, to me, looks like one of those old Dell computers I would see around 2007. Like an entire space base that's made out of that shit. That's pretty cool. I really liked that sort of stuff, like old Dell or Crysis, the computers from the Windows 7 and Vista days that had the shading and the marble look. Everything was shiny, Frutiger Arrow. Yeah, that stuff looks pretty cool, and I like how that everything was all dynamic with the lighting. That kind of stuff felt. Oh, Yakuza are coming for me. That's another thing. I like how there's the Yakuza. Unfortunately, in Rico London, there's only one faction, and it's basically just Russia. And you play as Karen from the intro. Like, you chose the lamest characters to possibly allow me to play as. And, yeah, no surprise. It was a game I couldn't fucking finish as hard as I tried. It's basically, if all you did was take this game and the only thing you can play... Oh yeah, there's no training, nothing like that. So you take out quick, you take out daily, take out challenge. Only thing you can play is a hardcore case. That's it. That's all you can play. You're not able to play anything else. So basically they took the game and deteriorated it down to about a fourth of itself, removed all the physics, so even what little was there was not particularly good, didn't make sense. It felt unfinished and like oddly uncanny at times, where it's like I'm going through the back rooms, and that's not a feeling I want to have when you're trying to tell me this place is real. It didn't even have like that as an intentional design. It was just like the way it looked because they were lazy. Also, if you looked out like the windows in some of the later maps, it was like there were skyscrapers, but there was like, the building would end, so you couldn't see other parts of the map. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, here there were skyscraper maps, but they actually did account for like other rooms and stuff. So like you could see another room out the window. If you look out the window on a skyscraper and there's another window, in another part of the skyscraper out of that window, you see the fucking window and the other part of the building. But in Rico London, no, you just see the outside, which doesn't make any sense and totally pulls me out of the experience. It lacks, basic care and polish that this game definitely had, and feels like an unfinished sequel of Rico London. Rico Breakout here, this is a good game. And, I often see like people will kind of not go after this sort of stuff where, the cartoon style I often give, shit for. That's because it's overdone and abused. It's abused as a sort of crutch for bad game design and bad world design. Meanwhile, here, they do train you. They have a basic video, basic tutorial, basic 2-minute introduction video and setup with Karen telling you, here's what you're doing, here's your objectives. That's pretty clear cut. But since more people are going to copy Doom, the vague, mysterious shit, it doesn't seem vague or mysterious. It just seems repetitive. It seems annoying. That's all it does. It's like a crutch more than anything. Because when everything is this thing, nothing is that thing. Syndrome from The Incredibles. If everyone's super, no one is. It's what like the boys tried to mimic, but they didn't quite get it right because that doesn't make for a compelling TV show. It makes for maybe a good, hour or two long movie for children, but I can't take that seriously if you're trying to tell me it is serious. There are some parts of that that definitely, relate to reality. I mean, hey, especially the boring office job, wanting to escape and go do fun shit. And hell, even that being taken advantage of by a prick with a business plan. That's very, very appropriate to what a lot of gaming has become now, where people are sick and tired of their boring ass jobs. And so they take advantage of people who just want to get into escapism by baiting them in with something familiar to their past and ultimately stealing the valor of that kind of thing without actually innovating it. They say they want it to be some sort of, inspiration or some tribute, but in all actuality, it's just plagiarism. It's theft. It's, vandalizing the thing that was originally there, and it's doing it dirty. It's disrespectful, I think. Like, you want to see some actual fucking progress, I will show you what the people who did Doom were trying to do, right? You want to see a great example of actual progress and innovation and the kind of things that indie developers should probably look at considerably more. A great example, Rage. The first Rage, not the second one. It's actually quite, you know, quite impressive, this kind of technology. And Doom from 2016 was actually using this stuff too. Underneath the, underneath how they did that stuff, basically they load this shit into smaller chunks to make the game run better. And this is how it is in the debugger. We just skip to the fun part. And that's how the game looks. It's, it's like a Mad Max kind of game. Oh yeah, John Carmack. He was doing this whole mega texture thing. This was back in like Windows 7. If this is what we could do with Windows 7, where instead of needing to have, everything be individual textures and stretch them out, right? If instead of doing that, we make everything a fully dynamic texture that's not just, repeat, like none of this is ever repeated. You never see the same texture twice. You never see any of that kind of stuff. That's what id Software was actually trying to push forward with Doom, and a lot of the tech what they were going to use with Doom 4. A lot of this was actually recycled from Doom 4, the canceled Doom 4, before they turned it to the 2016 one. This kind of shit's really interesting. And the reason why I kind of look at this stuff is optimizing my own game. And I have, with Rogue Planet 2, demonstrated that using this sort of technology in Unreal 4 has been successful. They were going to, as you can roughly see with the art style, the way it looks here, that sort of stuff, they recycled this in Rage. That's the same tech, same look. You can even see the same assets from the destroyed city in like the background. So you get the gist. Basically, if this is the kind of stuff we have, what bugs me is that people won't use it because it's so hard. It's really not hard. It's actually much harder to make shit that looks bad than it does to make it look good because Unreal Engine or Unity has this all going for you. And I mean, as you can see, it's quite elaborate technology here where they chunk up loading in a texture into little um little bits of the texture instead of loading it all at once. And as a result, you can get like 60 frames a second on even a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, and the performance doesn't really stagnate as much as you think it would. Now, the texture quality could have been increased had they, instead of releasing it on Xbox 360, maybe just made it a PC exclusive game, and certainly the file size could have been definitely improved as well, but they didn't think of that sort of stuff, and unfortunately, thanks to technical issues and, the live service mentality of release it now, fix it later, the game ultimately kind of flew under the radar. Doom in 2016, with their textures, definitely used this to more success, but it was Rage that did that first. And ultimately, kind of the way that. Let me see if there's one. There's one by Digital Foundry. Ultimately, the way that Doom did this sort of stuff was they actually had improved upon the texture quality, and it does quite show in terms of performance, in terms of the visuals. The fidelity was improved simply by a leap to next gen. They're still using that same tech. And on PS4 and Xbox One, it runs well. Xbox One does run a little worse because, hey, it's Xbox One, but basically, if this was how games looked in 2016, I see no reason why they can't just have that same level of fidelity as id Tech 6, because all the stuff they were doing was engine agnostic. You could have it be on the Unity engine, Godot, Unreal. That's my choice with Unreal. But I know not everybody's going to want Unreal because of issues with shader compilations, long load times, other clunky, unfinished aspects of the rendering. Maybe you want more control than Lambert, the Lambert. Maybe you don't want to have to use all these temporal effects. Back then, too, the temporal effects were even better. They could work on a console with 2 gigabytes of VRAM, and they fucking had to. Because you might want to slam everything up to the max, but if you're not optimizing your shit, you're simply not going to have a well-looking or running game. It doesn't matter how many blur filters you slam on at once. You still had FXAA and SMAA. You had these options, and they also had temporal, options as well if you wanted to use that stuff. And that's kind of the best part is these were optional little effects you could add. They were still more demanding, which is why I didn't fucking use them, but you totally could use them. It would fix any of the jitter in between, and realistically, I mean, it was such a nothing issue that they decided to fix by just going overboard and making everything look like a damn cartoon. Meanwhile, this is more of an appropriate, I would say, piece of visual progress. Compared to Xbox 360, I mean, textures are much better, animations, performance, lighting, you name it, even on home consoles. Now, there's nothing stopping them from removing limitations. Like PS4 used to have, no limitations on the games and the sharing and stuff, but they added that 13 years later, which, hey, probably a good fucking reason why I didn't buy that console in the first place. I knew they would do that shit. I didn't have any proof until, let's see here, 13 fucking years later, but hey, this is how you would make visual fucking progress, the way I see. And that is the exact kind of thing I like seeing with, Rico is taking these kinds of game design elements, maybe not so much from the graphics, but from the gameplay, where you have the linear maps and then adding random generation to that. Like, I would love a Doom game that's more of a dungeon crawler and also has the multiplayer and co-op and survival and all that stuff from Xbox 360. But nobody's gonna fucking make that. So it's basically up to me to do this shit myself. I mean, hey, it sucks, but it's certainly fascinating to look at. Anyway, Rico Breakout, fun game. If you can get it and get it working without Steam, like I have, I would highly recommend you do so. It's a good little game. It certainly flew under the radar, but I will have more cops and robbers games to play. Not Rico London, unfortunately. Game sucks, but um, expect tactical intervention here soon. I have recorded my gameplay of that, so this is another time skip, but you will see that after this Let's Play and other stuff like I talk about. Um, this has kind of been of interest to me, the virtual textures and optimization stuff as well. Um, there should be more Rogue Planet devlogs before this comes out, but we'll see. Anyway, that's going to do it for Rico Breakout. Just wanted to show my little reshade there. Oh, fuck no. That's breakfast. So sorry. Wanted to talk about Rico Breakout, show a reshade preset, and also just some other aspects of the engine and the game that I quite enjoyed, as well as just other things I could think of, potential other games using and taking away from it. Because the early 2000s stuff, it's not getting any younger. These games are ultimately being forgotten. A lot of these lessons, even from early Xbox One, no one ever fucking talks about that shit anymore, because instead of actually talking about that shit that was valuable, ran well, and looked fucking fantastic, still looks fantastic even today. Um, no, they would rather just put some cheap imitation of the 1990s, big cartoon boobies and a bunch of other gross shit in their games, and it's disappointing. It's totally night and day the difference between the games they used to make and the games they make now. The games they make now are a complete disgrace, and I have absolutely no patience for them. The games they used to make were fun for a while, and eventually they just succumbed to their own ego and envy. I think it's disappointing. I mean, they went from making such talented and well-looking and well-running games that they were able to successfully distract people from issues that they were, creating. The issues they were creating were naturally with offline inoperability, not being able to own your games, relying on online patches, robbing paying customers, and pirates never got punished. They never had to deal with all these limitations. They never had to deal with any of this kind of stuff. Because what police officer is going to come to your fucking house and arrest you for owning an illegal copy of a video game? Big companies can act tough, but ultimately it's not so much what they say, it's what they do. They ultimately hurt people who pay for the games. And that's not right. Say with Steam, right? They shouldn't do that. It should be like GOG, where, as of recording this, hopefully they don't do the same shit as Steam and most of these other companies, but I wouldn't, put it past them. If you have the systems to update your games, you have the systems to also remove them too. I wouldn't put it past them to fuck over paying customers, because that's all they seem to be capable of fucking doing. But with GOG, as of recording this, you can buy a game and have an offline version you keep for yourself. You can do whatever the fuck you want with it, and it's your copy. You don't need to have their launcher to play the game. As long as you have the account, you paid your money, they don't give a shit. That's how it should be. If I go to a store, I pay money for a piece of bacon, and the store sells the bacon. That doesn't fucking matter what they think about bacon. I get to fucking buy the bacon and eat the bacon. That's how fucking buying shit works. If I go to a store like GameStop, buy a game from there, take it home, the game doesn't blow up in my hand as soon as I try to put it in the console, because they think that they should blow up every single game that they sell. No, they just sold me a game, and it doesn't matter if they had a bad day today or not. That is, two things here have no correlation, but their fat asses and their fucking shitty old opinions, well, they seem to treat this as if that is a somehow justifiable reason to commit crime. It's not. No. It's fucking not. And if you're like me and you agree with that, you agree that you should probably be able to fucking play the games you buy and you'd like to see those games get better, well, stick around. I got some cool shit I'll be showing you. Happy 4th of July. It's a little later than usual, but hey, you'll see when it comes out. Got some cool new games that I will be putting up on the channel that I've never screwed around with before. Tactical Intervention. I don't know if I can get it working or not, but there may be the sequel to that, Alpha Response, and a few others. So stay tuned. That's going to do it for now, and little ramblings about Rico Breakout. Take care.